An absolutely beautiful day here in Dunedin, and we are happy to be joined by our pal Pat Tabler and the newest member of the Blue Jays broadcast crew, Dan Shulman. First of all, Tabby, I want to ask you, when we were at this point last year in camp, Marcus Stroman was looked at as done for the year. Michael Saunders had that freak injury in the outfield. A complete different look this year compared to last year.
You know, Barry, the biggest thing I think that the Blue Jays have gained is the experience of playing in pressure-packed ball games, meaningful games in the month of September. And they're coming off a championship season. So the experience I think they got from that by not winning, I think is going to be very important. It's going to really drive them this year. Another factor is this team is so much better at this point of spring training, the beginning of spring training, than they were last year. Think about the defense in particular, how much better the defense is. There were games in April and May where the Blue Jays lost because of their defense. That's not going to happen this year. We had a chance to watch them take infield the other day. This is a different team. It's a much better defensive team.
I mean, there are even some guys here that you take for granted now, but a year ago, Roberto Osuna, a year ago was barely on the radar. Kevin Pillar wasn't an everyday player a year ago at this time, and of course turned himself into a great player and had a terrific year. They're filling in around the edges a little bit more this year. Who's the fifth starter? Who's the left fielder? Some middle relievers, but by and large, they come in not as a set team, but pretty close to it.
Dan, that really reflects on the players they have here in camp that are not the regulars. You look at last year, it was who are we going to find to fill our bullpen? Who are we going to find to fill our fifth spot? Now they've got a lot of these veteran non-roster guys here just to see if they can crack the team.
Well, I think especially on the pitching staff, that's true. They've done it for position players as well. But I think what Mark Shapiro knows, and every baseball executive knows, you need more than 5 starters. You need more than 12 pitchers. If you look at any team, even the good teams, they're going to use 20 to 25 pitchers over the course of the year. Unfortunately, it's baseball and people get hurt. And somebody who's at Buffalo is going to have to come up and help the team. So I think when you see guys coming in, veteran guys, whether they're on major league deals or minor league deals, those guys may not have an impact in March or April, but they're going to pitch at some point during the season.
You know what that does also is it creates competition. It creates competition within the pitching staff. You need 20, 25 pitchers for the whole season, like Dan says. But the competition is going to be fierce. Something that they really didn't have last year. Maybe 1 or 2. Now you've got 5, 6, 7 guys competing for like 2 spots. I think that's just going to raise the bar.
One thing that Josh Donaldson said was that last year during spring training, guys were playing just to avoid being sent to the minors. Now, after having that experience that you spoke about, you see a different look. And even a guy like Ryan Goins, who got sent down at the beginning of the season last year, comes in now with just this newfound confidence.
Winning has a way of doing that, doesn't it? It kind of raises the bar for everybody. The expectations now are a little bit greater, and the bullseye on the back is a little bit bigger. But to a man, that's a good thing, and everybody loves it. You can see it in their work ethic and the way they have helped each other so far.
I think if last year the attitude felt to me from afar at the time was like, hey, if everything goes right, if a lot of things go right, this team has a chance to contend. If this guy does well and that guy does well and that guy does well. I think this year the attitude of the players is take the ifs out. They expect to win the World Series this year. They expect to do as well over the course of the season, if possible, as they did in the last couple of months last year. Maybe that's not quite possible, but they expect to be a 90, 95, maybe 100-win team, play in the postseason, and take it further than they did last year. There's a real air of confidence about this team, and there's also, as Tabby said, there's an air of unfinished business. They feel they could have done it last year but didn't, and so they're hungry this year.
The Blue Jays spring schedule begins on Tuesday. Our first broadcast on Sportsnet happens on Friday.